Christmas Eve always had this soft, golden glow in my little Florida house, like the whole world was trying to behave for one night, and I used to believe in that glow like it could protect you. I'm Rose Callahan, 74, widowed, stubborn, and the kind of woman who still puts real ribbons on gifts because it matters, even when nobody notices. This year, I went all out anyway, because my son, Evan, and his wife Jade were finally coming over after months of hit-or-miss calls and last-minute excuses, and I wanted the place to feel like a memory they'd miss later. The tree was lit up with the old ornaments I'd collected with my late husband. The cinnamon candles were doing their thing, and I had a ham in the oven that cost me way more than it should have because I kept thinking, he's my kid, he'll always be my kid, and maybe tonight we get a reset. Evan showed up looking sharp in that expensive I'm doing fine outfit. Jade right beside him like she owned the air in my living room, scanning my home the way people scan a menu they plan to complain about. Dinner started polite. Not warm, not cruel, just tight. Jade barely touched her plate, scrolling like my table was a waiting room, and Evan talked about work without ever saying anything real. Still, I pushed through, smiling, asking questions, keeping my voice gentle, the way mothers do when they're trying not to spook a wild animal. Then it was gift time. I handed Evan the keys first. Not to a BMW, not like some flashy movie moment, but a nice, clean, reliable car I'd paid for in full because I'd been saving, and I wanted him safe and proud even if he acted like he didn't need me. He blinked like he forgot I could still surprise him. Jade's gift was a designer bag, the kind she'd take pictures with. She opened it, gave a quick little "oh, cute," and tossed it on the couch like it was a hoodie. And then I sat there, hands folded, waiting for my turn, still hoping for something small, something sweet, even a candle, even a mug, just something that said I wasn't invisible. Evan cleared his throat and said, "Mom, we didn't get you anything this year." And Jade leaned back with this smug little half smile and added, "You should learn to give without expecting something back." The tree lights looked too bright all of a sudden, like they were judging me. My face got hot, but my chest got weirdly calm, because here's the part nobody tells you about getting older. You don't just get tired, you get clear. And I'd been clear for a while, even if I didn't want to admit it. I stood up slowly, like my knees were the only thing heavy, and I smiled at them the same way I used to smile at toddlers right before I corrected bad manners. "Well," I said, keeping my voice soft, "if we're doing lessons tonight, I've got one too." Jade's eyes flicked, suspicious. Evan's jaw tightened, like he wanted to leave but didn't want to look guilty. I didn't pull out an envelope like some courtroom drama. Not yet. This wasn't the night I blew it up. Not in my version. In my version, I let them believe they won. I let them walk out with their pride intact, because I needed them comfortable. I needed them careless. So I played it cool, wrapped the moment in a polite little bow and said, "I'm just tired, honey. It's been a long week. Let's not make Christmas weird." Jade relaxed instantly. Evan looked relieved. They left with the leftovers, the car keys, the bag, and my dignity still sitting on my couch. The second their taillights disappeared, I stood in my kitchen with the oven light still on and realized something ugly. I didn't feel surprised. I felt confirmed, because the distance hadn't started tonight. It started months ago. It started with calls disappearing, then visits, then the little digs. Jade had a way of talking to me like I was a sweet inconvenience, and Evan had a way of letting her, like he was renting out his spine. And I kept making excuses, because that's what moms do when they're scared the truth will break them. Then came the big gesture that, at the time, almost made me cry with gratitude. 2 days after that Christmas dinner humiliation, Evan called and said, "Mom, I've been thinking, you deserve a real break. Jade and I got you something." His voice was syrupy, like he'd practiced it in the mirror. "A Christmas cruise. Week-long leaves this weekend out of Miami. Everything's handled. You'll just show up." I remember laughing, actually laughing, because it felt so random and generous that my heart started patching itself up without permission. He told me it was a reset and that I needed to disconnect. And Jade got on the phone too. acting sweet in that fake bright tone people use when they want credit for caring. Their words matched too perfectly, like they were reading from the same script. And I almost noticed it, almost, but I wanted to believe them so bad that I swallowed the doubt with a sip of coffee and called it paranoia. The morning of departure, I packed my suitcase, folded my Christmas sweater, my meds, my little travel Bible, the whole grandma routine. And then I realized I'd forgotten my blood pressure pills in the bathroom cabinet. I'd already locked up, already called the ride, so I told myself I'd just run in quick, grab them, and go. The house was quiet when I stepped back inside, too quiet, and then I heard Evan's voice in my living room. Not the mom, "You okay?" voice, a colder voice, the kind that doesn't expect to be overheard. "Yeah, she's on the way," he said, low. "No, she doesn't suspect a thing." My stomach dropped so fast it felt like missing a step on the stairs. I froze behind the hallway wall, breath stuck in my throat. And I heard Jade respond through the speaker, her voice sharp and annoyed, like this whole thing was an errand. "Good, because I'm not dealing with another delay. The policy's active, right?" Evan exhaled. "Yeah, it's active. 200 grand, plus the house. We're good." I swear the air turned to ice. I pressed my hand to the wall like it could keep me upright. Evan kept talking, like he was discussing a used car sale. "It'll look like an accident. People fall on cruises all the time. Overboard, slip, whatever. They won't dig." Jade made this little laugh, and it wasn't cute. "Just make sure she doesn't come back. I'm not starting the new year with her still breathing and asking questions." My ears rang so loud I thought they'd hear it. My own son, my baby boy who used to beg me to check under the bed for monsters, was calmly arranging to turn me into one. In that moment, my sadness burned off and left something clean and hard underneath. Anger, sure, but more than that, focus. I backed out of the house without making a sound, walked to the driveway like nothing happened, and got in the ride like I was still just Rose, the sweet old mom. But inside my head, it was a full-on storm. On the drive to Miami, I stared out the window at palm trees and Christmas lights and couples holding hands at bus stops, and I kept thinking, how long has he been capable of this? How long has Jade been steering him like a shopping cart? And then my mind did what it's always done in emergencies. It made a plan. Not a dramatic plan. A survival plan. Step 1. I was still going on that cruise, because if I didn't, they'd adjust the plan and I'd never know where the knife was coming from. Step 2. I needed proof, not vibes, not intuition. Proof that could ruin them in daylight. Step 3. I needed an ally, because predators love lonely targets. And I already knew how they saw me. An old woman, slow, sentimental, easy to push, cool. Let them think that. That's the oldest trick in the book, and I've read more books than they've lived years. At the port, Christmas music was blasting. People wore Santa hats like it was a personality, and the ship looked like a floating mall wrapped in lights. I smiled at staff, thanked everybody, acted harmless. Inside, I was watching everything, where the cameras were, who lingered too close, who looked like they were just passing by too many times. When I got to my cabin, the first thing I did was check my booking details at the guest services desk, pretending I was just confused. The woman behind the counter frowned at her screen and said, "Ma'am, I'm only seeing a one-way itinerary for you." My hands didn't shake, but my heart did this slow, heavy thud. One way, of course. I put on my best confused grandma face and went, "Oh gosh, that can't be right. My son booked everything." She apologized and offered to look into it, and I thanked her like she'd done me a favor, then walked away with the confirmation burning in my pocket like a match. That night, the ship hosted a holiday welcome gala, and the dining hall looked like a Christmas movie set. Fake snow, shiny ornaments, servers in red vests, couples clinking glasses. I wore my nicest blouse and sat alone on purpose, because sometimes being alone makes people talk to you, and I needed people to talk. That's when a man in his early 60s, silver hair, kind eyes, sat at the table next to mine and asked if he could share the bread basket. He introduced himself as Cal said. He was traveling solo to said his kids were grown and busy, and he figured he'd take himself out for Christmas. And I felt a little pinch of recognition because loneliness has a tone you can hear. We chatted light at first, normal stuff, where you're from, what you do, how the sea smells different at night. He was easy to talk to, like the kind of dad who listens more than he talks. And then he asked, gently, "You okay? You've got that look like you're smiling for somebody else." I almost lied. The habit is strong, but something about him felt steady, and I remembered my own rule. Predators love lonely targets. I leaned in slightly and said, "Cal, if I tell you something, you can't react loud, like, at all." His eyebrows lifted. "Ma'am, I've had 4 kids and a bankruptcy. I don't react loud anymore." So I told him, not every detail, not the whole heartbreak, but enough. The gift, the overheard call, the one-way ticket. His face didn't change into shock, not big and dramatic. It changed into something worse, belief, like he didn't doubt me for even a second. He asked practical questions. "Did you record it? Do you have any messages? Do you know if anyone on board might be involved?" I told him I didn't record it because I wasn't expecting it, but I had the one-way confirmation now, and I could probably get them to talk again if I played my cards right. Cal nodded slowly, thinking. Then he said, "Okay, we're gonna be smarter than them." The word "we" hit me like warmth. He offered to help me set up recordings the right way, offered to walk with me so I wasn't alone, offered to keep me in public spaces, and I wanted to cry from relief, but I didn't because tears make your vision blurry and I needed mine sharp. We made a simple pact right there over a plate of holiday turkey. I'd keep acting grateful and clueless when Evan or Jade called, and Cal would be nearby with his phone ready to record, and we'd build a clean trail of evidence, one call at a time. After dinner, we took a slow lap of the upper deck, where the ship had hung Christmas lights that reflected in the ocean like scattered stars, and Cal pointed out the camera angles near the rails, the darker corners, the places where accidents could happen if someone was pushed or drugged or distracted. "Don't go out on your balcony alone," he said. "Not once. Not even for a second. If they have someone on board, that's the easiest spot." I nodded because he was right, and because I'd already felt eyes on me twice that evening. The lingering kind, the kind that pretends it's not looking. Back in my cabin, I kept the TV on low like company and sat at the little desk with my phone in my hand, staring at Evan's contact name, feeling this strange split inside me. One side of me wanted to call and scream, "How could you?" And the other side of me, the side that survived a dead husband and medical scares and decades of swallowing disappointment, knew screaming would only warn him. I needed him careless. I needed him confident. I needed him to run his mouth. Around midnight, my phone finally buzzed. A text from Evan. "Hey Mom, you on the ship? Everything's smooth." I typed back with sweet little emoji energy. "I didn't feel all good, honey. The ship is so pretty. Can you believe it? Feels like Santa's living room out here." And then, because I wanted bait, I added guest services. Got a little mixed up about my ticket, but I'm sure it's fine. 3 dots appeared immediately. Evan replied, "Don't worry about anything. Just relax, enjoy. That's what this is for." And right then, I knew the game had started, because his message didn't ask what the mix-up was. It didn't ask if I needed help. It just shoved me back into the role he wanted, quiet, compliant, unplugged. I set the phone down and looked at my reflection in the dark window, hair pinned back, face lined, eyes tired but sharp. And I whispered, barely audible, "Y'all really think I'm that easy?" Outside, someone laughed down the hall. The ship hummed steady like a giant heartbeat, and the Christmas lights kept blinking like nothing in the world was wrong. But I knew better now. And the thing about Christmas, it makes people sloppy. They drink more. They brag more. They think the holiday glow will cover their mess. So I made myself a promise as the ship cut through the black water. I will not become their accident. I will become their consequence. The next morning, the ocean was calm in that suspicious way, like it was holding its breath. I woke up early, before the hallway noise, before the buffet stampede, before anyone could decide what kind of day this would be for me. I dressed carefully, comfortable shoes, cardigan with deep pockets, hair neat, looking harmless takes effort, and I was committed to the role. Cal met me outside the cafe like we'd planned, two retirees deciding between oatmeal and eggs. He slid his phone across the table. Screen dark, recording apps ready, he said quietly. I nodded. He'll call today. And he did. Late morning, while I was sitting in a lounge chair with a book I had turned a page of in 20 minutes, my phone rang. Evan, face smiling in the contact photo like it hadn't aged past college. I answered, sweet, always sweet. Hi, honey. Hey, Mom. His voice was too cheerful, overdone. How's the cruise treating you? Oh, it's lovely, I said. A little confusing though. Guest services still says my return isn't showing up. I keep worrying I'll do something wrong. There was a pause, just half a second too long. Mom, he said, softer now. You always worry. That's why we wanted you to relax. You don't need to talk to staff so much. Just enjoy the trip. Cal's eyes lifted from his coffee, recording light blinking. I sighed gently. I know. I just don't want to be a bother. You're not a bother, Evan said quickly. Then, slower, but you should really stay put. Don't wander around too much. Cruises can be dangerous. There it was. I let a little nervous laugh out. Dangerous. Oh, Evan, don't scare me. I'm just saying, he replied. And now his voice had dropped into that tone parents use when they think they're being responsible. Railings get slippery. People drink. Accidents happen, especially at night. I felt something inside me go very still. Well, I said, I suppose I'll just stick to my cabin then. Good, he said. Too fast. That's good. We hung up, and Cal slowly set his cup down like he needed both hands steady. That, he said, was not a normal son worried about his mom. No, I agreed. That was someone checking if the door was still unlocked. We didn't waste time. Cal had a friend on board, retired law enforcement, traveling with his sister. Quiet man, polite smile, eyes that missed nothing. We looped him in, played the recording. He didn't interrupt once. When it finished, he said, "You need ship security today, and you don't go anywhere alone again." Ship security listened. That mattered more than anything. They didn't brush me off. They didn't smile politely and suggest I have more tea. They listened, asked for the recordings, checked the booking, confirmed the insurance policy that had been quietly activated 2 weeks before Christmas. The officer leaned back in his chair and said, very carefully, "Mrs. Callahan, your son marked you as traveling alone with no expected contacts. That's unusual. I've always been independent," I said. I suppose he counted on that. From that moment on, I wasn't alone. My cabin was moved. Cameras were noted. Staff I didn't recognize suddenly recognized me. And somewhere between lunch and sunset, the balance shifted. Because now they were the ones being watched. Evan called again that night. Jade was with him. I could hear her breathing in the background, impatient, sharp. "You sound tired, Mom," Jade said. "Syrup thick enough to choke on. Are you sure this trip wasn't too much for you?" I smiled into the phone. "Oh, sweetheart. I feel clearer than I have in years." Cal's phone sat between us, recording every word. There was another pause. Longer this time. "Well," Evan said slowly, "just follow the schedule. Everything's taken care of." "Yes," I said. "It is." After the call, I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I slept. The kind of sleep you get when you finally stop pretending you're safe and actually become safe. Because Christmas makes people sloppy, but consequences, they don't take holidays. And by the time the ship docks again, Evan and Jade are going to learn something I wish I'd taught them years ago. You can mistake kindness for weakness only once. By the third day, the ship felt different. Not louder, not scarier, just alert. Like a room after someone says a name that shouldn't have been said. I noticed the way staff lingered near railings longer than necessary, the way certain hall cameras suddenly had fresh little red lights, the way my cabin phone rang each morning with a "just checking in" Mrs. Callahan, that sounded casual but wasn't. I played my role perfectly. I went to trivia. I complained about my knees. I laughed too loudly at jokes I'd heard before. And every time Evan or Jade called, I stayed sweet, stayed grateful, stayed exactly as alive as they needed me to be without letting them feel it. But impatience has a smell. Jade cracked first. That afternoon, while the ship docked briefly at a sunny little port I never intended to step foot on, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. I answered on the third ring. Mrs. Callahan. A man's voice asked. Friendly, too friendly. This is Trevor, with guest relations. Just wanted to confirm you declined a shore excursion. I glanced at Cal. His jaw tightened. Yes, I said slowly. I wasn't feeling up to it. Understandable, Trevor replied. Some guests prefer quieter spaces. Your balcony might be a nice place to get fresh air this evening. There it was. A suggestion wrapped in service language. I thanked him, hung up, and didn't say a word for a full 10 seconds. Cal broke the silence. That call wasn't logged. Security confirmed it. No Trevor on staff. Which meant Evan and Jade had gotten sloppy enough to push someone on board, someone whose job was to finish what the cruise was meant to start. Ship security moved fast after that. Quiet fast. They didn't confront anyone yet. They didn't warn Evan. They didn't warn Jade. Because the most dangerous moment isn't when you accuse someone, it's when you let them believe they're still winning. That night, I went to the holiday deck party. I wore a soft blue sweater Evan once bought me years ago, back when he still remembered my favorite color. The music was loud. People danced. Someone spilled a drink and laughed too hard about it. And across the deck, near the railing, I saw him, Trevor, early 40s, clean haircut, hands that stayed in his pockets too long, eyes that kept finding me even when I wasn't looking at him. He waited until I was alone. Evening, ma'am, he said, stepping closer. Beautiful night it is, I agreed. Makes you forget where you are. That's what people like about cruises, he said. Feels like nothing bad can happen. I smiled at him then, a grandmother's smile, the kind that disarms. Oh, I said, bad things happen everywhere. It's just easier to clean them up at sea. His lips twitched. He motioned toward the railing. You want to see the lights on the water. They're stunning from here. I took one step, then stopped. Oh dear, I said, pressing a hand to my chest. I think I left my glasses, and right on cue, ship security appeared from 3 directions. Trevor bolted. He didn't make it 5 feet. The handcuffs clicked loud enough to cut through the music. People stared. Someone gasped. Someone clapped before realizing they shouldn't. I stood there, heart steady, watching a man realize his paycheck had just turned into a prison sentence. Security pulled me aside, voices low, respectful. Mrs. Callahan, the officer said, we have enough now. Enough. That word felt heavier than fear ever did. Evan was arrested 2 days later, not on board, at home. Because once the recordings, the insurance policy, the false itinerary, and Trevor's confession landed on a detective's desk, the story told itself. Jade screamed, according to the report. Said it was all Evan's idea. Said she'd just gone along with it. Funny how everyone wants to be a passenger once the ship starts sinking. When the cruise ended, I didn't rush home. I sat on a bench at the port, sun warm on my face, watching families reunite, watching hugs that meant something. Cal sat beside me. You okay? He asked. I thought about my son, about the little boy who once cried because he'd stepped on an ant, about the man who'd planned my death like a holiday errand. I'm grieving, I said, but I'm not broken. He nodded. That's the difference. Weeks later, I went back to my house. The tree was gone, the ornaments were packed away, but the glow that came back, not the soft, naive glow I used to believe protected you, a stronger one, the kind that comes from knowing this. I didn't raise a monster, I survived one, and this Christmas, I didn't become an accident. I became the woman who lived long enough to make the truth stand in full daylight. By the time the court dates were set and the headlines burned themselves out, Life had settled into a quieter shape, one that didn't ask my permission before changing but somehow fit me better than the old one ever did. The house felt different when I came back to it, not emptier, not sadder, just honest. I boxed up the ornaments Evan and I used to hang together, not because they hurt, but because memories deserve rest when they've done their job. Jade stopped being a name that made my jaw tighten and became a case number. Evan. Evan became something I no longer chased answers from. People kept asking me how I could survive something like that. How a mother lives knowing her own child planned her ending. And the truth is simpler and harder than anything dramatic. You, Dan T., survive it all at once. You survive it in small decisions. You survive it when you stop rewriting the past to make someone else look better. You survive it when you choose not to carry shame that was never yours. I kept the house, sold the car I'd bought him, donated the money to a women's legal aid fund in my late husband's name. And every time I signed my name, it felt like reclaiming something that had been quietly taken from me years before. Cal and I still talk coffee, slow walks, conversations that don't rush to fill silence, and no, it's not a romance people would put in a movie, but it's real, and real has a weight to it that fantasy never does. On Christmas Eve the following year, I lit the tree again, smaller this time, simpler, with fewer ornaments, and more space between them, and I realized that glow I used to believe in never protected me at all. What protected me was clarity, boundaries, paying attention when love starts asking you to disappear. I didn't win because they went to prison. I won because I didn't become what they needed me to be, to destroy me. I lived, I spoke, I stayed. And if there's one thing I know now, it's this: age doesn't make you invisible, it makes you dangerous to people who rely on your silence. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel seen, uneasy, or strong in a way you didn't expect, don't scroll past it like it was just another tale. Like, share, and subscribe, because stories like this don't just entertain, they warn, they wake people up, and somewhere out there, someone needs to hear this before it's too late.